everybody. I'm going to show you a little bit about Photopea. I know you have, or you should have watched both videos for this assignment. This is kind of like what I want you guys to end up with, and I'm going to walk you through step by step. So you can stop the video, you can work, you can come back to it, but I'll walk you through. So try to make it quick, not too long, but this is a really good introduction to composites and working with you know, manipulating images digitally, you know, whether it's Photoshop or whether it's Photopea. They're both tools. No one's ever going to say, well, wow, look at that photograph, I bet they used Photopea, or hey, I bet they used Photoshop. So don't think of it as like, hey, I know Photoshop and I'm fancy. It's just a tool. So we can do pretty much the same thing that we can do Photopea with Photoshop. So, but everybody has access to Photopea, so that's why I need to use that instead of Photoshop. All right. So to start off, you should have been introduced to the tools and what some of them can do. And over here we have our layers palette. So you see where it says layers. So everything is named. You want to make sure that things get named. And remember that it's kind of like a sandwich. So what's on the bottom is in the back, and what's on top is in the front. So if we want to move the trees behind the balloons, then we're going to adjust the layers. Okay, so move that back because it gives us some dimension. So let's go ahead and start this file again, and I'm going to show you how there's 1,000 ways to do things in these programs, but typically you want to do it the fastest, whatever works for you. So there's no right or wrong, but this is how, you know, I'm going to create this. So we're going to file new. Okay, so it's going to be first name, last name, underscore, and then let's see. This is a composite project. Okay, and then make sure this is set to 11 inches. Okay, we don't want to do pixels. We don't want to do millimeters. Inches, because that's a sheet of paper. Okay, 8.5 tall. So 8.5 by 11. And then dots per inch. There's something in the video that the girl really didn't talk about. She started out at 72. A lot of people make a big mistake by starting out at 72 and then they want to print it for like an art show, or you know, maybe your grandma wants a copy of something really cool that you did. You got to print it out. It's going to be very pixelated. You have to have enough pixels for printing. So you want dots per inch. Always keep it high. And the standard for anything is always 300. Now we have all these Retina displays, and you're actually supposed to double the pixels for Retina, but we're not designing for a mobile device right now, or for a Retina MacBook Pro, or an Android or a PC. So for this project, we're going to keep this at 300, and that's why that's important. They do have these options down here, but I'm not sure that these are correct. So always make sure you double check, you know, sizes and things like that for creating projects for the web. So that looks good. We're going to create this. I'm going to go ahead and the background is locked. So if you go ahead and click on the background, you'll see that it's locked, and that's fine. I mean, just to unlock something, you'll just click on the lock button and it comes back. And then I just click all once I have the layer selected. So that's fine. You're going to go File, Open, and Place. Okay, so we're going to place this inside of here. So I'm going to start from the back. So in the background, and this is a good example of foreground, middle ground, and background when we talk about space. We haven't talked about elements and principles yet in this particular media arts class, but this is a really good example for that. So sunset, JPEG, let's go ahead and put that in there. Okay, you'll see that once it gets in there that this is going to be selected. Okay, so this is kind of like highlighted, so you can like move this around if you want. You know, this is kind of like, again, in Google Slides, you know, I'm being able to transform the ratio of this, and that's not really a good idea. So you want to press Shift, and that will kind of keep the ratio where it needs to be. So again, use the corner. You don't want to use like the side. We don't. That's just not something that we do in graphic design. So so I pressed Enter. That popped back in place. And that pretty much is ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that just so we don't mess around with that. Okay. The next thing that we need to do, File, and this Open in Place will be this hot air balloon. So what I want you to do is practice, you know, taking out the this blue background, so we need to take out this negative space, and the balloon would be the positive space. So you don't need to resize anything, just leave it big. I did that on purpose. So go ahead and press Enter to kind of get that deselected. And one thing that you do when you bring things in, you're going to have to rasterize the images. So you're going to go to Layer, and then rasterize. If you don't, this is what's going to happen. So let's say I wanted to erase some of this. It's going to say Smart Object must be rasterized first. Okay, so make sure you rasterize things as they come in. So rasterize. Okay, so after you rasterize it, you can go in here and you can erase this, but that's not very good practice. So that's destructive. So in digital artwork, you never want to be destructive. You always want to create like a mask. So there are, like I said, there are 1,000 ways to kind of create what we need to create, and we need to really get rid of this blue background. So another way is to create a mask. Okay, so if I create this mask and then go down here, we can do the default colors, and if I paint with white, the paintbrush, okay, to make the paintbrush big, on your keyboard, where on the right hand side where the letter P is, there's 2 brackets, so the right bracket will make the brush bigger, and then the left bracket will make the brush smaller. So hopefully you can see that. Okay, so white actually shows. So to toggle between white and black, if you look kind of like down here, this will basically toggle between the two. So what's on top is what's active, so black will hide. So there we go, hiding that. And remember, like in the video beforehand, if you mess up, that's okay, because then you can toggle by pressing X on the keyboard. Okay, put white on top. Now we're going to bring that back. Okay, but I can't bring back what I erased. So see, that's the part of being destructive. You don't want to destruct. You always want to be able to back up and be able to salvage some things if you mess up. Okay, so so that's masking, but you don't necessarily have to use a mask. Masks are pretty advanced, but you guys, I want to give you as much knowledge that I can give you for you to be dangerous. So if you can get your head around masks, then great. But if not, it just takes practice. So one other quick way is to actually just kind of get rid of all the blue at one time. So if we go under, you might have object selection, quick selection, or magic wand of showing. But it's 1, 2, 3, 4 tools down. If you click on that and kind of hold it, you'll want to select the magic wand tool. Okay, what you'll do is just click on the color blue. Well, actually, excuse me, I'm on the mask over here, so we want to make sure we're off of that. So you need to click on the actual balloon. Okay, and then just press delete. Okay, and then to get rid of we call these dancing ants, but they're not really dancing here in Photopea, but in Photoshop they do. Just go ahead and use them, This is the rectangle select. Then just click on the canvas board or the art board, and then that goes away. So that's pretty good. But I don't really like that this has a mask on it, and I don't want to get you guys confused. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the trash. So we'll delete that layer. And then real quick, File, File, Open in Place, Hot Air Balloon. Okay, again, what's our first step? Yep, got to press Enter. Okay, second step would be Image, Layer, Select, go to, which one? Layer, okay, and then Rasterize. So now we can work with it. And so on this, we're just going to use the magic wand tool, click on the blue, okay, and then press delete, okay, and then to get rid of those dancing ants, okay, you just hit the rectangle select. In Photoshop we call it Marquee Tool. So rectangle select. So just click on the artboard. Alrighty, so use the move tool, and now we can move the umbrella, or not the umbrella, the hot air balloon around, and you can kind of play with it and act like it's, you know, animating your wonderful trip around the world. Alright, so let's leave that there. Let's actually duplicate this because I want to work with rule of odds. So this is another kind of fine art terminology that you guys will learn when we get into elements and principles, but you always want to work in odds. So 1, 3, 5, etc. And so I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to click, make sure the layer is selected, layer, and then we're going to duplicate. Okay, so I have one more. Okay, so what happens with objects as they get higher up here on the picture plane, they get bigger. And when we get lower to the picture plane, going down at the bottom, things get smaller. So to kind of make this hot air balloon look like it's further away from us, we need to make it smaller, and we need to make the position of it lower on the picture plane. So to kind of make things big and small, you're going to go to Edit and then go to Free Transform. Okay, so now we can transform this, and I'm going to press Shift and then hold the corner, not the top and the side, and then we're going to make this small. Okay, so I'm going to position one right there, and then I'm going to press Enter. Okay, and then I'm going to make one look like it's even further away. So from this copy, you're going to go to Layer and then Duplicate, Layer. Okay, so we have one more, so I'll just click and pull that over, and then again go to Edit, Free Transform. Okay, and then let's make this reasonably smaller so it looks like it's even further away. So now, you know, it kind of looks like it's floating, you know, away from us. Okay, they're coming towards us or going away, however you want to think about it. All right, let's see. Now, let's go ahead and put these trees in. That's really the last step. I'll show you one more thing with the hot air balloons in a minute, but we'll get there. As long as you can get this part done, you're good. So File, let's open and place the trees. Okay. And those are going to come in on top. It's just a large file. Okay. So now this is not ready to work with. Make sure you hit Enter. Okay. So there's, we've kind of placed that into our document. And then remember, if we want to work with it, we have to rasterize it. So let's just, for example, if I wanted to erase this, you know, rasterize first. So make sure you do that. Let's layer and then rasterize, and then we're good to go. All right. What you can do, and this is one example as to why I did this in black and white. In Photoshop, it looks it works a lot easier, so I'm going to have to show you a trick in Photopea just to kind of make this look cleaner. But we're going to, instead of going around and, masking, all this little tiny stuff around the trees, and I'm zooming in on a Mac, you can press Command plus or Command minus. I think it's Control plus and minus on a PC or a Chromebook. And then if you're like really close on something, you can do Command or Control 0. That kind of brings everything to the front. So that's a little tip there. But we don't want to have to go through here and mask everything. If you actually went in here and used the magic wand, and you just hit like this area, and then hit delete, we would only see like some of that, and that's not sufficient enough, unless that's just your graphic style and that's like something you were trying to do on purpose. But for the most of you, that's not what we're trying to do. Alright, so to get rid of those dancing ants, use the rectangle tool. Let's click back on the artboard so nothing's selected. So for the trees, we're going to go over to select and then color range. Okay, and we're going to select the white, and then I want you to kind of bring that down to around probably like 38, something like that. Let's see how that looks, and then say OK. Alright, so all that's selected. If you want to zoom in, you can see that you've got, some dancing ants or some things around there. Like I said, this kind of works a little easier in Photoshop. It comes out cleaner, but I have a trick for you to get you where you need to be. So we've selected the white, so that selects everything. So if you look, down here, this is selected, this white, this white, this white. Okay, so Command or Control 0 to bring that to the front, and then we're going to press delete. Okay, so therefore we've got what we need as far as just the white is gone. So now we can kind of see through there. So, I mean, like I said, you can kind of control this kind of white better, that kind of hints around the edge of that shape. But what we're going to do is we're going to fix it. So Command 0, Control 0 to bring everything to the front. Again, if you want to zoom in and zoom out, Command or Control plus or minus. Oops, too far. All right, so with the trees, we're going to come down here to Effect, okay, Color Overlay, okay, and then you can see already that it went away. So if yours is like red, you'll see that you can change it to red, green, crazy like blue, magenta, black. Okay, say OK, and then say OK, and again that was down here in Effect, so if you lost it, so again Effect, and then you can just select Color Overlay. Alright, so that kind of fixes that. I like how dramatic the balloons are. I don't like, typically the lighting is a little off. We've got like too much front lighting for this to be like a background. Like sunset, the light is coming from behind the balloons. But for just this example, it's just a lot of color. So if you really wanted to get technical, this balloon right here is a little too big. They're maybe like taking off, and maybe this is like a cliff. We're just kind of seeing it pass by. So that's fine. You can kind of come up with a story in your head. As long as you know kind of like what you wanted it to be, that's okay. But thinking about like composition, if we divided, let's see, 32, what is this in pixels? See, what's our canvas size? 33. I'm going to do a little bit of math right here. 3300 by 25. I'll show you how you can use the rulers to kind of help you with your composition. So 3,300 divided by 3 equals, okay, 1,100. So I kind of zoomed in, and we're just going to go to 1,100, and then 2,200. I'm just using my trackpad and just moving this over. So let's pull out another guide. So 2,200. 2,200. Okay, so if you have your ruler, so Command and Control R, so that should turn that on, your ruler. It's coming on right here. So Command and Control R, the letter R. We want to pull out a vertical guide, so I'm going to click inside of the ruler, and then it's going to pull it out and put it at like 220. Okay, so Command or Control 0. Okay, so there I've got my division of thirds going across there, and then 2,500 divided by 3. I don't do math in public, so divided by 3 is 833, and I really just want to get that top rule of thirds, so the 9-zone grid that we've taught you guys about. So I'm going to kind of zoom in and find the closest thing to 830 I can get real quick. It's probably going to be right there. 800 and should be 33, something like that, 0.2. Therefore, we don't have to round up. All right, so here's our intersecting point, and we need a focal point. So we need something to be the biggest, and so I'm going to use that as like for a composition. So again, File, let's go to Edit, and Free Transform. It's just a little bit too big. So we're going to move him down. Maybe put him right there and give him some. You can run it off the top. Kind of like it off the top like that. It's kind of cool. Kind of get the trees and that overlapping. So that's another part of space. So size, texture, overlapping, placement, color, and value. So something that we'll learn later. But so kind of like him up there. If you don't want your guides on anymore, you can do Command or Control, and then it's the colon or semicolon. So turn those on and off. That's another hotkey. Lots of hotkeys. Let's see. If you want to turn things on and off, you can also use the eyeball. So turn him on and off. But I do want you guys to understand, like, we're trying to create like a triangle here. So you got 3 things. If you wanted to, you could put other hot air balloons in here. That's fine with me. But I'm just using these for this example. And then I'll click on this other hot air balloon and kind of, put him maybe like right there. Remember, you don't want them at the same level. I mean, you can, but I don't know. Just for a student kind of thought, you could maybe put him over here. That's kind of cool. I like that. That way we just kind of see him floating off by himself. Yeah, it's up to you. This is like where the art comes in, okay? But you kind of want your focal point. Then again, if you wanted to defend this, you could kind of say like there's a horizontal line that kind of runs close to like right here. So maybe that's kind of like another part of composition. But you definitely have like your triangle, which I'm going to draw on this. I'm going to create a new layer, but I'll just use the paintbrush and use like the yellow. Just kind of show you. But again, if you want to make the paintbrush small, just use the brackets beside the P, the left and right back. But at least you've got like kind of like this triangle thing going on, and then you've got like your focal point right here. So it kind of gives you some compositional kind of structure. All right, so we don't need that layer anymore, so I'm just going to trash it. Bye. Again, to turn on the grid for your guides, command semicolon or colon, and turn that on and off. So this is looking pretty cool. If you wanted to do some kind of lighting effects, this smaller one, since it's so close to the sun, I feel like it would be darker just because we're like looking at it. So for me, my artistic kind of deal, you can go to image, adjustments, and then levels. Okay, and so we're going to take down the brightness of it, kind of make it like a little bit darker, just so it's not so like competing with like the other ones. Okay, so that's like way over there by itself. So we definitely don't want that to like compete with like the focal point. So you can say okay, and then let's see, this hot air balloon. Again, if you want to like name these, I just clicked. So balloon, let's say the right small. Okay, and then this is like the lonely balloon, and then this is the alpha. The alpha balloon. So okay, alrighty. So we've got that. You also could, let's see, do that same thing. So image, adjustments, levels. Maybe make him just a little darker, just a little bit, just so he doesn't compete. And then the alpha balloon. Maybe you might want to like, make him a little colorful. So maybe we can make him a little bit more vibrant. Just a tad. So, okay. And that kind of helps you create a little bit of space. So when things are closer to us, they're more saturated. And there's color temperature and value and stuff like that that we can get into. But for right now, all I want you to do is be able to cut out backgrounds in a variety of ways. So to review, you've got masking. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead and let's review this real quick. So I'll pull this up at the top. One thing I don't want you to do is get into doing text in Photoshop or like Photopea. You need to understand that like photography is pixels, okay, and you don't want to do typography and type and stuff inside of a photo editing software. That's not best practice. If you're going to really get into graphic design, you want to use Illustrator, which is a vector-based program, or InDesign. InDesign is really what it was. InDesign kind of was created to kind of merge the logo, the vector work with the raster work, which is like the photos and the pixels. But I don't want to throw too much at you, so just know that when you create your posters, try to use Canva to create that. You don't have to, but I'm just saying if you get into the real world with professionals, this is best practice. So for background removal and for selections and things like that, we did masking. Okay, and we also use the magic wand. Okay, and then we also went up to select, and so we selected by color. Okay, so these are the 3 things that we went over today for this lesson. And hopefully that, once you start messing around with this, you'll kind of get the bug to kind of start creating things. And then you'll like be taking pictures of your family and start doing like kind of like funny things with them, putting like Easter bunny ears on like your sister or something like that, and then sending it to her on like Easter morning or something like that. And really think about like how you can use the tools to kind of bring comedy and stuff into like people's lives. So it's really, it's a tool, so it's up to you on how you want to use it. But hopefully you've enjoyed this. There are a lot of other ways to do this. Like I said, there's 1,000 ways to do this. So to export this, what I wanted you to do is to give me 2 files. So one file will be a PSD. So you're going to go File, Export As. PSD will save as PSD, so let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so Russ Bratcher _ composite project. So we've got that, and if you're working in Chrome, typically it's going to pop down at the bottom. So I'm just going to drag that to the side. So I've got my PSD, okay, and then we're going to go to File, and then also Export as a PDF. And PDF will be a flattened file that will not include your layers. So if I wanted to, to make sure we have integrity and nobody's plagiarizing or anything like that, I do need to see your Photoshop file in case I need to get into your layers and look at things like that. So please make sure that you do not go into the layers option and you flatten your image. If you do, it won't be accepted. So anyways, your file, we need to export this as a PDF. So File, Export as PDF. Okay. I would leave everything like this. Quality 100. This looks fine to me. It's 7.5 megabytes, so it's a pretty big file. But I'm thinking like Google Classroom will be able to handle it. It's not too big. So we want to save it. And that comes down there as well. So we're going to go ahead and pull that over. Okay, and so that's a PDF. So make sure that you turn in both of these to me so we can look at that. And then you can also print it out. It's for your home printers that print 8.5 by 11, it should look pretty cool. Like I said, if you wanted to add a different hot air balloon, the main thing is that you always want to keep like the edges nice and clean. So selections are pretty important on how clean the edges are and things like that. So we don't want pixelated pieces. This is a little rough. If I was teaching a Photoshop class, I would definitely fix this. But like I said, media arts is an introduction to graphic design, web design, and film. So this is an intro. As long as you know the basics, you guys can be dangerous. And I want you to be able to make money, go out in the world, do your own projects, do personal projects, and maybe take on something freelance. Or just fix something, real quick in Photoshop that you need. Maybe you don't like a freckle, or maybe you don't like, the way something looked in the background, so you can edit that out. So Photoshop's pretty cool. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and now it's time to see what you guys do, and I'm excited to see it.